Are we live?
The little box says we are.
Okay, we are live. Thank you, Aimee.
Hey, you're welcome. I'm so helpful.
Yeah, exactly. I am Janet Lee, and I am the founder of the Story Co., and I'm so thrilled to be joining you today as the host, and I have the absolute pleasure of interviewing Aimee Schulhauser today, and we are in for a real treat. So I am very excited about that, and of course, we're feeling a little bit all alone. We miss seeing everybody, and we miss having our wine and snacks with everyone. And if you could let us know you're here, if you could let us know you can hear us, just let's get this chat box going and see who's out there and see who is joining us for today. Otherwise, we say, "Oh, yay! Everyone's yay!" All working fine. We just love to know who's here. So thank you, everyone. Also wanting to let you know that this is streaming live on Facebook, and it's also recorded. So if something happens in the middle and you need to catch it later, you can always check it on Facebook. And we're going to have questions and answers for Aimee after. And if you'd like to put those there, you'll see at the bottom of your screen, there's a chat box, which we hope to fire up. And we also have a Q&A box. So hold on to those questions for Aimee and put them in the Q&A box, and we'll be really excited to get to them later. So let me see if I missed anything. I didn't. Okay. So now on to introducing our guest, Aimee. And of course, many of you may know her. I think we're going to find out things tonight that maybe you didn't know that will inspire you. And some may not know that Aimee actually obtained her Bachelor of Science degree in geology from the University of Regina in 2000. Then she changed careers. So Aimee knows what to do in a pivot. In 2004, went to State Polytech in Calgary to become a professional chef. After moving home to Regina in 2005, thank you for moving back home, Aimee. Aimee started her first company, Evolution Catering and Fine Foods. As the business grew, she began thinking about other complementary businesses to add to her roster. Almost 14 years later, she is a proud owner of 2 cafes, a cooking school, a corporate meeting space, and of course, the original catering company that started her entrepreneurial journey. Throughout her years in business, Aimee has given back to the community by sitting on various boards and committees, notably as president of WESC, and also including the Fort Qu'Appelle Chamber of Commerce and the Saskatchewan Chamber of Commerce Indigenous Engagement Committee. So we are just so excited to have you here today, Aimee. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure, Janet. Thanks for having me in my living room. Yay.
Yeah, exactly. We would have lots of fun together, but we're going to have lots of fun in your living room and wherever everyone else is.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start this off, and we're not going to start it off with actually a business question, but we're starting it off with this fabulous story that Aimee has, and you're going to see how much it connects to her business philosophy. So Aimee's a rock star. She seriously is a rock star. So Aimee, you have this love for rock and roll, and it's even catapulted you into your own band. Can you just talk to us about Aimee the rock star?
For sure. I love that adjective. I don't know if I would use it myself, but I'm glad that you think so. It's hard to be a 43-year-old rock star. You know, you get up at 6 a.m, right? Like anyway, I love music and live music, and that's what really gets me going is especially rock and roll. I've always been a rocker kid, even when I was little. My mom says I was born 10 years too late for the type of music I like. and so there was a friend of mine was talking about this camp that she and some other people started. It's a chain around the world. It's called Girls Rock. And so Girls Rock Regina was the chapter that was founded in town. And it's for younger girls. I believe it's, 8 to 12, 10 to 12 years old, that kind of thing. And girls and non-binary folks. And so for a week, you learn an instrument, you get together in a band, you learn how to band, and you write a song, and then you perform it in public. So throughout the week, it's in the summertime, and I thought it was so cool and like how great for these girls to have an opportunity to learn an instrument when a lot of times you might not get that, or we're pushed towards maybe piano or something else. These are like electric guitars and drums and like
it's not flute or recorder.
No, thank goodness. And so we sponsored it, and I went to the final show, and I was blown away. These kids just did the most magnificent things and performed like they've been doing it their whole life. And I said to the organizer, half jokingly, "Do you think you'll ever have this for grown-ups? Or you have like an adult camp?" And she's like, and I laughed, and she said, "Actually, we're working on that right now." I said, "Oh my God, you got to let me know when this happens." So sure enough, it happened a couple of years later, and I signed up, and I chose the drums, and the band I was put with, we're still together today, yeah. And I've been described as animal, like from the Muppets. I don't know if that's a compliment or not. I'll take it as a compliment.
Let's take it as that.
Yeah, and so the kids had a week. We had Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. And then Sunday night was our performance at the Exchange, like a real rock venue. And, there's like 100 and some people in attendance to see this. And the euphoria of all of that, and like, oh my gosh, I am doing the things that, not as well, but I'm doing the things that I see on stage, and like that same energy is there, and it's amazing. And so we've stuck together for 2 years now, and we've been writing our own stuff. Like it's crazy. And some of the covers that we do are things that we don't really have a right to do, like Fight for Your Right to Party. Yep, we're the ones who, like, the kids talk about squashing our party, and we're the ones we cover that song. It's just so much fun. And I think that everyone should have something like that in their lives that just shakes the way, like, it just kind of blew up my brain. And then the way it settled is brand new. And I think that's really important for especially as we get older, to do something that terrifies us like that. Not just do something that scares you every day. No, you need to do something every, say, 2 to 5 years that makes you like stick to your stomach. And that's the kind of growth that I was looking for, and I found it.
So here's the tie-in. Aimee is an absolutely fearless entrepreneur. I mean, if this is how you get your kicks. You can see how that is connected. And if anybody follows Aimee on any of her social platforms, you can also see that you're a huge fan of rock and roll. And when you take time off, you go rocking.
Yes, my current playground is North America. Well, okay, it was North America to go see shows, and my partner and I go on rock cruises every year. And like, you're on the cruise with actual rock bands, and there they are in the buffet line, and you go get your picture taken, and you just run into them, and they're all hungover, and you're like, and it's so much fun. And it's one of those things that I like, that you work towards, and that's the reward. Yeah.
That sounds fun. It takes you totally away from all the businesses that you have here.
Yes.
So who is your favorite rock band?
Personally, it's Motley Crue, 80s kid right here. And I've seen them 21 times.
Oh my God. And so what was your favorite concert?
Of theirs was in Calgary, where I won a chance to go up with the band into this little high-rise thing in the middle of the stadium during the encore. So
oh my God.
Yeah, it was awesome. But that's my favorite show of my favorite band. But my favorite show forever is, you're not going to believe this, but Pink. I saw Pink a few years ago, and she was just,
oh, really?
I don't know if it's because it was a female rocker and it's just like the things that she did and her acrobatics and all that stuff, but it was one for the ages.
Oh,
and that's a lot coming from like,
oh, that's awesome. Yeah, who's seen a lot of shows. Yeah, that is totally impressive. So I just had to get that out there, that this rock and roll side to Aimee just rings through whatever else she does in her business. So I wanted to get back to the point. We've got Marnie was also saw Pink in Vegas and thought it was amazing. So
yeah,
you have
so good.
You have more fans.
Yeah.
So when I read your introduction, of course, you have this degree in geology and you own a number of restaurants. Like so many, your path to entrepreneurship was not a straight path. Can you talk to us a little bit about how a geologist becomes a chef?
Sure, yeah. Well, you know how we have two sides of our brain, right? You have the critical thinking, that kind of thing, and you have the creative part. And I feel like they had a fight earlier on. So I still love science. I love the why. I'm like the kid who didn't stop asking why. And that served me well for sure. But that creative side and getting to be around people, that was not being nurtured at all. And the thought of logging core in a lab for hours or days at a time just didn't really appeal to me. And so when that opportunity arose, I had started cooking for myself in university for the longest time. And I loved it so much, I almost quit university to pursue cooking. And I'm glad I didn't. I never regret education. And I say that all the time. I would not have changed my path whatsoever. However, I did pivot at 26. I was the oldest oldest person in my class when I went to cooking school. Really? I paid for it myself. So I was in the front row and I was doing all these things. And I always knew I wanted to be my own boss, even when I was in geology. And I thought I'll work for 20 years and then be a consultant and then I'll do these things and that. But it happened at 28, I believe it was. 28 feels like a million years ago. But I'm the oldest of three. I went to a small school, so the opportunities for leadership in that setting were a lot. And so I think I've been groomed for this my whole life. My parents are entrepreneurs or were retired, but all of these little factors, I think, went together. I also like when I have people come to me, I get such a charge that when people buy things that I've made. And
me too.
Yeah, isn't that cool? You're actually giving me money for something that I love to do. Oh my God, okay, I'll take that. And I think it just perfect stormed itself into the opportunities came up, and you just take them when you can. And I had that mindset already. I took night classes in entrepreneurship and things like macroeconomics and business law and business writing at night when I was in the oil industry, and because I was planning for the next step. I just didn't know when it was. I wanted to be ready for when it present itself to me.
Well, it's awesome to hear that story, and you can see in the energy you have that it's not surprising that you're an entrepreneur. And we also talked a little bit, though, too, about how the science of cooking, that there is really a relationship between the science you've learned and being a chef.
For sure. And people will have a chuckle. They're like, oh, that's a total 180 from geology. Well, okay, it's the study of rocks and that kind of stuff. Sure. I mean, I could talk about wine territories and how it affects the growing. Oh, that is something I technically could do. But the background of it, it's well, why does having an extra quarter teaspoon of baking soda or baking powder in your pancakes change the color of it so much? And we talk about that in one of my classes. We do side-by-side comparisons, and science and cooking it's just chemistry with things you can eat, and it's physics with the knife, and it's all these things. And I talk about that a lot, and how acid affects. You can't cook beans with something acidic because it'll strengthen the cell walls and you'll have tough beans. And so add your tomato sauce last if you're doing that kind of thing. And that kind of stuff is so cool to me. I love it. I have books on neurogastronomy and how our brain tastes food and why salt can affect aroma, if you can believe that. There are all these, I find those things so fascinating. And that's what, that keeps me going. And all these things are continually studied too. It's not just, okay, here's the answer, we're moving on. But there's whole fields of study on that stuff. And I have the books to prove it.
I'd like to have you on my shoulder when I'm cooking and you can say, nope, not now, don't do that.
Whoa.
Yeah, exactly. Stop that.
Yeah.
You have a natural affinity for teaching, and that is one of the things that you love so much.
Mm-hmm. It is my favorite part of my job for sure. I could have just the longest day ever and then go to my classroom and come back energized, even though I put in say like 14 hours. I'll just like, what's next?
Wow.
Yeah. It's
awesome.
And I've had people stop me in like grocery stores and say, I still chop an onion like you showed me. And I don't recognize them. And it's like, okay, that makes, I see, like when I see I've seen my kindergarten teacher out and I'm like, she also taught, because it's small school, she also taught grade 9.
Oh yeah, okay.
So I said, because of you, I have the best grammar. And she's like, oh, okay, this is all right. So I feel that that joy of when something I do makes a difference, even if it's
absolutely. I still measure cutting my butter the way you showed me.
Oh, okay, awesome.
So that's just like the handiest little trick. I just love it.
Yeah. For more on that, sign up for our classes.
Right. Yes, absolutely. So we're going to come to that because I want to talk about how your business has been affected. And of course, COVID has affected your industry probably very, very harshly. And yet, as COVID hit, you kind of pulled a completely Aimee move and opened a new restaurant.
Oh yeah, why not? Hey,
so tell us about that, and what is the process you go through to look at opportunities? And you're a serial entrepreneur, and how do you go about that?
Yeah, well, we look at if the opportunity is it will fit with our current brand. Just like when we hire a new person, I have everyone kind of interview them because they have to fit our culture, and so they.
Very cool.
Well, they have to work side by side, and the latest hire has brought up to me 3 times, and so he's like, I really appreciate that. So with that, is it what we do? Is it brand specific to us? Is it complementary, even if it's not exact? Like, will this fit with our family of companies? And so when the Connexus opportunity came up, it was about a year and a half before we opened, and you have to submit a proposal and all these things, and it was quite the process, as it should be. And so I looked at that, I'm like, oh geez, it's like 3 blocks south of where we are. Yeah. Are we going to cannibalize ourselves? Well, then I thought, well, if anyone wants to do the cannibalizing, shouldn't it be us?
Yeah, good idea.
I mean, it works for Starbucks, right? So
yeah, right, exactly.
So then I thought, this will work, and it's this great new building. It's in the park. How fantastic! It's like Tangerine South, or like we call it that kind of jokingly. And so we went forward with the proposal, and I sat on that secret for a year, and it was crazy.
That must have been hard.
It was so hard, and I'm not a secret keeper. Like, don't tell me your stuff. Don't tell me, because it's not good. So we were supposed to open in March, April of this year, and then things started. The news started coming down, and coronavirus on cruise ships, and we thought, oh, no big deal, whatever. And then you could just feel it building, but the momentum was too strong. And I mean, like, you're going to open eventually, right? Like this building, life has to go on, and it's really like the show must go on. So instead of March, April, we opened July 20th, but we had a little bit of an advantage in that we knew it was coming. We hadn't opened yet. We hadn't. We hired some people, yes, but we altered their roles really quickly and gave them hours at the other places, and just really turned it into more of a whole corporation hiring rather than that specifically. And then because of that too, we could plan our menus around other things, and because there were some odd times where we couldn't get, what was it? I couldn't find capers. I couldn't find celery. I couldn't find all these things. So we could navigate that a little bit better. And I thought, if we're going to start, we'll start small, and that's never usually a bad thing, and we can always ramp up from there. We'll be okay. So the Connexus people have been beyond awesome. It's funny.
Cool.
The first week or so we were open, I like someone I kind of know, I pulled her aside. I'm like, everyone's been really awesome. Is this because we're new, or are you always like this? And she laughed and she said, no, like we are like this, you know? And so super good culture. It aligns with ours seamlessly. Nice. And that was, you never know, right? Because you could, people sometimes interview and then they're in the job and it's like, who are you? Because you didn't interview like this, but it was seamless and supportive and just a really great group of people. So we've meshed super well, and
nice.
We're just doing what we have to do at this point.
You kind of hit on some of my favorite topics, and one just being that whole brand alignment. You know, that there was just an alignment there with you to start with the opportunity first, with the location, with the business, with everything. And so the stars kind of lined up. But, you know, it's sort of like I'm seeing a theme here with you, Aimee, that's, I think Aimee should be a verb. You know, you don't know how to play drums, let's Aimee that. You know, you don't know how to play the keyboard, let's Aimee that. But I would like to take a chance now just to hear from all these wonderful people who are listening here, and just tell us what's been, I'm going to ask Aimee the same question. What is so challenging for you during COVID, both personally and professionally? We know that women in particular have been hit hard, trying to manage often kids being at school, homeschooling, as well as potentially parents, grandparents. They're unable to visit. There are just so many things that are really putting the weight on women entrepreneurs who can't always just say, I can't come in today. So please let us know what your challenges are in the chat box. And Aimee, let's chat a little about what the challenge has been for you.
Oh, where to start? You know, professionally, our catering revenues of that stream went to anywhere between 5 and 10% of what they were last year for this.
Wow.
Time. So almost a cliff, almost zero. And the catering jobs that we do get are 5 people, 3 people. We had one today for 3. And I am grateful for what we get, for sure. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of work and not very much return. And then I think that's the theme that a lot of people are seeing right now. You've never worked harder for so little right now. And it just feels like, well, if I just stop, I would maybe be more ahead, but that's not ever real. It's not an option for us. So there was that. And then cooking classes, gatherings, you know, and something as like eating is, you know, a faux pas, especially around other people. So we went to, I think it took about a month or so, we went to virtual classes. They're called House Guests, and then HAUS.
Oh, cool. That's an awesome idea.
And at first we had 8 people as the limit. So it could be an intimate and interactive with a chef. We made supper together. And so it was an hour and 15 minutes, and you could ask questions, and we'd make 3 dishes together, and then they'd go eat. It was a meal for 4. So you could sign up online for that kind of stuff too. So it's awesome. We don't have the numbers to like that we had last year, but it carries our brand. Again, it makes us relevant, keeps us relevant, and has us top of mind for a lot of things too. And it gives an alternative to things where people gathered in the past, and that is what we're all craving at this point. And then for Tangerine, we never closed one day. We went strictly to delivery and takeout. And then because we had this dining room with nothing going on, we just pulled our tables together, made one long table, and then put out a little grocery store. And
that was brilliant. That was just simply brilliant.
Oh, thanks. There are quite a few vulnerable people in our neighborhood, and a lot of seniors, and they didn't want to go out, rightfully so. You know, everyone's scared, and so they wanted an apple or a banana. So they'd come in and they'd buy an apple and a banana, and they just thought it was the greatest thing. And then we also were able to get yeast, and we were one of those few people and so we sold that, and we sold just, you know, a potato. You could buy 1 potato from us if you wanted. And those little things, it wasn't a money maker by any means, but it added that sense of caring for our community and the people that are around. We thought of it more as a we took the essential worker part very seriously, and an essential business, and like, we'll be there for you. We're open.
Wow.
Come and get a coffee. Come and get these things that sustain you. And it kept 5 people employed full time during that whole time.
Wow.
And we had such good feedback, and just people still like, you should still have that. How come you don't have that? And it is like, well, we don't have the room for it. But you know, it made them more secure, and it made them just realize that we were still here, and we are still here for them. So, and
it's just so aligned with who you are and who your brand is. And we've got some cool comments coming in here that I just want to read. Some of the challenges that some of our attendees have had. Changing my entire marketing strategy for 2020. I had many in-person events planned and have had to embrace internet, social media, and seeing clients online versus in person. Boy, I hear you on that.
Mm-hmm.
Challenge in getting people who feel challenge to get people to feel comfortable, and yes, working very hard to gain the trust. Managing work, children, household, pivot to meet with people online, learning strategies of social media. Our brains have just been overloaded with all of the new and all of the decision making that we're doing constantly. Do I have my mask? Do I have my sanitary? It's just kind of one thing after another. And, you know, you've really taken this on as a challenge and as a long-term view as well. And I really applaud that, and especially your commitment to the people who work for you and being able to keep them employed. I mean, that really is saying something, which kind of leads me very nicely into our next conversation, is that when we chatted, I always like to know, have a conversation about values and where values sit in your business, and what they mean to you, and are they a rudder for you when you're in business? And as soon as I mentioned values, you just, I mean, yours are obviously very much a part of your business. Can you talk to us about that?
Absolutely. I didn't really, if you would ask me when I first started, what are your core values? And I thought, well, that's some sort of frou-frou like assignment that you give, but they're so important and they resonate with me every day. And I have 2 sets of core values, one for professional and one personal, but they still intertwine, and I really feel them on all levels myself. So in business, it's respect, integrity, and humility. And if you saw my growing up and my family, and like the stoic Germans, and like work hard and all that stuff, the humility part, because you're only good as the last dish you put out, is what Gordon Ramsay always says. And if you knew my grandparents, you would know that you do not brag around them whatsoever. I mean, they're proud of you. It's implied. It's implied. You will not get a hug. You'll get
so true.
You'll get, here's your cabbage roll, and just move about your business.
Love on a plate.
Yeah. It's really, I think that speaks to a lot of what I'm about, we show love by cooking for people. So so you don't dare talk about that kind of stuff around my family, because they will bring you down, either just by joking with you and like, okay, you put me in my place, whatever. But there's a ton of value to that, because no one likes a bragger, for sure, and it also makes you keep working hard as well. Right. We respect the customer, the product, the employees. All of those things are very, very important to me and to us. Customer always comes first, and we respect their time and all that they're spending their money with us. And integrity, doing the right thing even when no one's watching, and even if it's detrimental to you, is really what it's all about. And in the food industry, that goes a long, long way. Us in the people making your food and those kinds of things. So those are my professional ones. My personal ones are the 3 C's. Curiosity, you probably got that from the science part. Creativity, I'm happiest when I'm making things. And connection. And so that's with people. And you can see how all of those things just wrap up in entirely what I do every day. And if one of those pieces is missing, I there's like this restlessness, like unease if you will, and like, oh, I haven't made something in a long time, or I haven't connected with people in a long time. I am now, as a recovering stoic person myself, I'm now a hugger. 5 years, 5 years a hugger.
Great timing to become a hugger.
I know. And so I'm a turbo hugger, and like people who don't want to be hugged, too bad. Come on in. We're hugging. And so now I'm in my peak hugging, and I cannot hug people or touch them or like touch their arm or whatever. I can't do that. And so like, oh, all this work on myself to become a more expressive person, and that's gone. So I laugh about that, but these are real things. And like, I miss my band. I miss seeing people at concerts. I miss high energy. All of those values are like, they're not in alignment anymore. And I grieve the loss of a lot of these.
Yes.
These things.
Absolutely. It totally grieves the loss of it. And, it's interesting because during COVID, it seems like there's been a real tendency for people to go into that creative space and to be baking and to be doing all these different things and to, find new skills, and also looking for that comfort in food. Have you noticed that?
Oh, overwhelmingly so. We had, we have usually 5 salads at Tangerine. We made 1 or 2 during the lockdown, the initial lockdown, and we had to throw them all away because no one bought one single serving of salad. It was mac and cheese and meatloaf, and then we put mac and cheese and meatloaf together. Well, that just flew off the shelves. So we get all of the like carbs, and bread, and banana bread was the most baked thing in the world apparently, and then cinnamon buns.
Oh my God!
Yeah, so we I know I want.
Me too.
That sourdough thing that was happening. Give me all of that for sure. There's something to be said about carbs, and like they make you feel good and everything, and we need all of those wins right now. Whatever, if it takes the form of bread, so be it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's take every little win we can.
Yes.
And what I've always noticed about all of your businesses that you've had is that you seem to have this knack for transforming a business into a community, where it's not just a restaurant. It truly is a community. It's not just a place where you go to have meetings. And do you have a secret recipe for developing our communities? Because now during COVID, it's even more challenging for us to build those beautiful communities that so many businesses can.
Oh, yeah, so true. When I started, I'll back up a little bit. When I was growing up, we lived just on the outskirts of town, not quite a farm, but an acreage. And my dad always had mean dogs. And it was to protect our stuff, because he had machinery and all sorts of stuff. So mean dogs. And that prevented people from coming over to play. If I wanted to go play with someone, I would have to go to their house. And so I don't know, there's something to be said about that for sure, your childhood and what you grow up to be. But people come to my house now. People come and gather at my house, so to speak, I guess literally. And so I always think that it's important that people have their group too. And once you start losing what group you belong to, I think you start losing everything. And so at the start too, we made it really, really important to learn people's names. And that simple act is, people love the sound of their own name, and to be acknowledged like that. I think that's a basic need for a lot of people. And if you start giving people what they need as a human, you start to build something around that core. And we just so happen to serve food, and they come and hang out. And we had people who didn't even come for any stitch of food or drink during lockdown because they couldn't sit with their friends. And now they've come back because that's what they want. And the same with Schoolhouse too. And I always said that we get together over food, the eating of food, but not necessarily over the making of it. And I think that's
so true.
Well, that builds a camaraderie and that little mini community in that moment. And I've seen people exchange like email addresses at class because they had such a good time, in their little groups, and so it warms my heart, and I'm just in the like, oh, look at this happened at my house.
Well, I simply love it, and you feel it. You feel that energy at any of your businesses there. And we have some more comments that I'll just read that are kind of fun. Somebody, Catherine mentioned that she wished she had invested in Zoom in January. Yes, I think we all did. You're going to get hugged when you get out of this. There's some hugs coming your way.
Bring it on, Kathy.
Yeah, exactly. And from Bernadette, what a great comment. Many of us are grieving the loss of energy that we derive from others and events and activities. I think that's so true. I hope everybody's feeling some of this energy tonight, even though that we're not in person. I really hope it's there. And Aimee, we talked a little bit about you're no stranger to hard times. I mean, 2020 has been hard, but 2018 and 2019 were tough for you personally. Can you talk a little bit about how we can get through these difficult times?
For sure. So in the last couple months of 2018 and 2019, I lost all 4 of my grandparents and my dad. So 5 deaths. My grandpa, my paternal grandpa, my dad, and my maternal grandma died within 10 weeks of each other. I can write a eulogy like you've never seen. I've written obituaries, so many obituaries. Because I'm the oldest, I was given that. I'm also the oldest grandchild on both sides. So as the leader of the kind of the matriarch of the grandchildren, I got a lot of those tasks put on me. I'm also one of the few grandchildren who lives in the province still. They've spread out from here. So there's a lot of grief and a lot of loss. And so I barely remember 2019, to be honest. There was a lot, there's so much going on and my brain couldn't process it. And then the fallout from family and what role those people held before they died,
sure.
and then the void that's left from there, and then it needs to be filled or things collapse. And so still dealing with the fallout of those kinds of things and how it affects dynamics within the family, two sets of families. So a lot going on there, but I thought, you know what, 2020 is going to be my year. I
thought that too.
4 concerts all over the globe. All over the continent. It was my 25th high school reunion. We booked a mansion in Phoenix. We had all these things, great things happening. My band was touring. I was going to follow Motley Crue around the whole continent. And then that happened, and I'm like, you know what? I am really well equipped for this. I still grieve the loss of all of those things because it really is grief. It comes down to it. And I experienced all 5 levels, in clockwork. But if this is life, this must be the final exam. And I've been studying for it for a long time. You still have to get through those things though. So what I did is I'm very good at compartmentalizing things and like, okay, so my dad and my grandma died within 10 days of each other. I'm going to put one of these in a little box in a shelf in my head, and I'll go back to that because I have to grieve for my grandma right now. So then that goes, and you can bring out these little boxes and deal with them as need be, the loss of that one. So I'm good at that part of things. And then I also have this, I don't even know if it's a thing, I just call it chunking. So you chunk things out where, okay, this week sucks. I know I have this. Like I have a mammogram this week. Okay. So when I think, okay, I have to get through this, right? Okay. So Saturday, I'm going to treat myself to this. So if I can get through 4 days of just crappy work stuff and appointments and that sort of thing, I will get that. And my brain goes, oh, okay, that's no problem. Because I have something to look forward to, and having even those little things, I call them micro wins these days. You don't
I love that, a micro win. Yeah.
We don't have small wins anymore, I feel like.
No.
And so having those little micro wins are so important, and the self-care. So I took really good care of myself. I slept when I wanted to sleep. I made sure that I did some, saw the people I wanted to see, and luckily my friends are amazing. So, I'm equipped for this final exam that it seems to be a year-long one. with no breaks. And so
Yeah.
here we are. But, I think that it adds to the resilience of a person if you experience those things, especially personally, because you can see professionally how someone might be struggling and not know the personal issues underneath. Right. And so that makes it harder because you can't really grieve in public. It's super frowned upon, and no one wants to see, that kind of stuff.
Right. But just recognizing that people bring things to the table. Yes, 2020 is challenging me too. So I'm going to take the micro wins, and not that you can tell, but I did get mascara on my eyes with my left hand, and my lipstick, I'm not sure it's straight, but it is on there. So I love the idea of taking micro wins every way we can. And even in your business, when you talked about, you're catering for 3 or 5, but you've won that, and you've likely won their trust and loyalty forever. I'm getting a little note to get your questions ready to hop on to the Q&A part, but I do want to ask you, Aimee, what is the best financial or business advice you've been given or would like to give?
Yeah, early on, I was told to get a good accountant and a good lawyer right away, so you can set things up right away. You don't have to worry about 5 years down the road going, oh my gosh, I'm a sole proprietor and now I pay like $20,000 in taxes. Yeah. Like that will make you it'll hurt. So those kinds of things. Now that was for me 15 years ago. So, that part is done. But the best, as I've heard, and actually you have experienced, is to diversify your revenue streams. And that is especially apparent right now, and having those different income streams, especially like when you say catering's 5% of what it was last year, and if I was just doing catering, that would be it.
I think that's such good advice, and especially on the income stream side. And we've seen so many businesses who have had to go from maybe a bricks and mortar shop to completely e-commerce, or, to make those fast switches. You were a takeout business almost overnight and had that grocery lined up. I mean, that inventiveness, that sheer innovation has to be there.
Yeah, and I think we got a lot of that training. So Tangerine turned 10 years old this year, and from day one, thank you. From day one, we've changed our menu every single day. Now, I have people said, okay, cute, good luck keeping that going. So we did, until I think I would share I'll show you. But we changed that model just in March, April, that kind of thing, to a weekly menu. And so every day we were able to pivot and to change things up and be nimble every single day until we had none of that stuff. And then we were like, oh, well, this is just what we were doing before. We just changed that up, and we just do that. And for us, it wasn't a big deal. It didn't involve a paradigm shift in a lot of people's minds. It was just part of work.
I don't think we'll ever forget the importance of being nimble in business from here on in, though. I think that will just be a practice. And I was also curious that you have, each of your businesses has its own brand. And of course, I'm always curious from a marketing perspective. Tell us a little bit about why you did that.
Yeah, I had this very grandiose plan to create these individual units and then sell off the pieces. So if say Schoolhouse was its own thing and if someone else wanted a Schoolhouse, I could then just package it and sell it to someone else, or do some kind of franchising type of thing. It would have made things cleaner, and it didn't have to incorporate the other businesses with it. So you have this have its own, I wouldn't say operations are totally different, but I guess somewhat, but it had its own logo and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now getting to, I think of them as business kids. I jokingly call them business kids. And so when Tangerine was born, we just plopped Evolution in front of the TV and was like, you take care of yourself. Mommy's got work to do with this newborn. So you know, watch like Paw Patrol or whatever. And so you give the attention to the latest one, and that one is fine on its own. I am not a parent, can you tell?
No, I love it. Actually, you are definitely.
And then when Schoolhouse came along, we gave all the attention to Schoolhouse because it needed the nurturing, it needed all these things, and so they came along at different times, thankfully, and then all of a sudden they all hit their stride kind of at different times, but they're all cruising, they're all doing their thing right now. So you just pop into different ones and check on them and make sure all is well in the kingdom, so to speak, and then and then you move on to the next one. And same with when Slice opened too, that was a newborn that needed the attention, and like, oh geez, you know, our menu boards are warping. How are we gonna fix those? Because the heat of the espresso machine caused our menu boards to all, you know, just different things that come up during all that time. And as the business kids got older, they started to all have a similar, you can tell they're the same family, you know, and they didn't need to have such distinct personalities. And so that's why Evolution Catering became Catering by Tangerine, because that was the brand people knew, and we were more aligned with it that way. And it was confusing for people, and you could go your whole life and never need a caterer, ever. And but people knew Tangerine, so we just thought it was smarter.
I think it's just a brilliant idea, because I think sometimes as business owners, we want to have that idea of, you know, potentially, could this be a franchise opportunity? Could this business be sold? Could this, you know, what could be next for this business? And I also think it's kind of a good idea, even though they're your kids, you're sort of getting a little bit of a detachment from it, you know, so that you can see the forest for the trees. Yeah.
Times are tough.
We're not promoting that, by the way.
No.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so what has been your biggest aha moment in terms of owning all these businesses and having all these kids?
Yeah. So there's been a few, but what I'll sometimes talk about is the best way to make money in the food industry is to not sell food. And what that means is we sell convenience, we sell camaraderie, we sell community, we sell knowledge, we sell confidence. So in all the different revenue streams we have, that's the value added to it. The food is a common denominator for sure, and we have to have a good product, but it's the service around it, it's the add-on with it, and the stopping me in the grocery store and saying, this changed my life, or whatever. And we've had some really nice emails around, not just like, sure, the dishes are part of it, like what we made, but the fact that their family sits at the table now, that kind of stuff. I think that's what we sell, is everything around it. And so where we're focusing is on the experience and on the confidence and on and the atmosphere. That's the aha part.
That is such a big aha. And you hit on a word that I love too, in terms of experience. And I think that's what's being demanded of businesses now. And even though we all want to shop local, and hopefully we are seeing that trend to shop local, we still need to have that experience on the local level. And, you know, we're seeing businesses step up in ways that they've never stepped up before, and personalizing their business and really getting in touch with what it is they sell.
For sure. I've seen a lot too on, like, if we can't get in front of people, we can be in front of people virtually. And like, there's a reason it's called social media, and to have our stories told in that format, I think is really, really important. And that's one of the things I talk about too, is we're relentless on social media, and not hopefully not in a way that's annoying or like, oh, you guys, I'm sick of you. But just to let people know we're still here, we still want to interact, and I am seeing that a lot. I think that's awesome. I think that's really good, and it just changes like that, the brain chemistry. I think we're getting some new connections that way, and some new ideas, and I hope that it keeps up, because that's a really good like trajectory.
I think so too. Trajectory. I agree as well, and I think it's just an act of showing up.
Yes.
You know, that, social media is giving us that opportunity to say, we're here. And, one of the things that we talked about, you and I, in terms of what's most important now is to also get out that message that to everyone here and to all of our business owners, we're not alone.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Yes, it's so true. And I have to share too, like, I like you said, you put on makeup today, Aimee. And I said, I brushed my hair. Like, this is a good day. I had a cracked tooth a couple of weeks ago, and I went to the dentist, and it was a stress fracture. I was clenching my jaw so hard, it broke my tooth. So
my God.
I had a rash under my eyes from stress that needed penicillin. Like, I have been affected, like everyone's been affected. I just happened to have a forum today where I can tell my story and put on some polish a little bit. They're so hard right now. They're so hard. I think that the things are going to get so much better. I know, like, how do you feel right now when you think of going out? You have that little, like, fluttery feeling.
Yeah,
imagine that
completely.
Imagine that times 7 billion people on this planet who also feel the same way. I think we're going to come back and we're going to roar. So I think things are going to come back. The world needs you. The world needs your business. The world needs your energy. The world needs everything. Just hold on. Just hold on. Like, the vaccine, and all these things. I'm thinking, my chunking out of this is 6 months. Like, I can put my nose to the grindstone. We're going to do this. We're going to work hard for 6 months. We're going to prepare. We're going to make sure that all is well. We're going to, even if we limp along for 6 months.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that. I also think too that we are so ingrained with the notion of growth, and rightfully so. That's how we business economies are. Mm-hmm. However, it could be taken a little too far, right? We can have an obsession with growth that makes us depressed, that makes us feel like we're not right, like things are not right, and we start getting anxiety over it. Just do what you have to do to get through all of this right now.
And we talked about that too when we were chatting, that just do what you have to do. If if you need to, if you can find a way to just find those micro wins, that's what you're going to need right now.
I also think, use all the resources that you have at your disposal. If you have professionally and personally, if you qualify for any of the government stuff, get all of it. Get whatever you can. Personally, if you could get a good therapist, or you could, for me, it sounds so basic. I love candles, like scented candles, and I'll just go buy a new candle and like have my living room smell really nice, like right now. It's those kinds of things. They make me feel better, and I think that that's whatever it takes right now. Go eat some sourdough bread.
It's like we're tuning in, we're tuning into some of the self-care that we need, and even just in really small ways.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And I love that. Like, I think we're becoming more aware, and we're also sharing. You talked about that global, this is a global pandemic. And so there's that vibration globally. And in many ways, we've never had more in common with so many than we do right now. The struggle is definitely real. Yeah. So we are going to open this up to some questions for Aimee. So please jump in. I've got one here that says, okay, so you've come from a German background. What's your favorite German dish?
My grandma's strudel is the most amazing thing you'll ever eat. And unfortunately, she did not leave that recipe behind when she passed away.
You're kidding.
Yeah. So go to your grandma's right now and pen to paper and have them tell a story about it and write it down. I personally like rouladen. It's beef, pickles, bacon, and onions with mustard, and it's rolled up into a roll and braised in the oven. Amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. That one I have a recipe for.
Yeah, that one. Well, I wonder if your grandma's recipe, if it would just be a pinch of this, a bit of that, put in a warm oven. That's what my grandmother's recipes were like.
Yeah. Or a blue teacup of flour.
Yeah.
Like, grandma.
Yeah, exactly. So we have another question. Thank you from Amanda. What is the top leadership lessons you learned through COVID that is most relevant for women and women entrepreneurs? What a great question.
Super good question. Like you said, Janet, it's showing up. And I came to work every day. I showed up for my employees. I made myself a good example and a role model for them. So yeah, I'm hurting too. Like this is my thing, is going out and traveling and getting on airplanes and doing all the risky things right now. I made sure, even though that was happening, to still come to work every day, to still show up for my customers. I think being that role model right now is, we don't need next level. We don't need groundbreaking. We need people to be there for other people.
I love that. I just love that. Yeah. And I think when you show up for others, you show up for yourself too.
Yes. Hi, Prabha. Yeah.
Do we have any more questions? Let me see what we have. Oh, it is Prabha, but I am showing up as Amanda. Okay. Hello, Prabha. Is there any other questions that people might have for Aimee on this delightful story? I'd like to know when your EP's coming out.
Well, we actually had a show booked for October, end of March, that got canceled. So I wasn't going to tell too many people because we hadn't practiced that much.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, you've told us all now, and we're going to show up and we're going to hug you. So be ready for that.
Good. Bring it on. I'll start a line.
We have some nice comments here. I'm getting lots of inspiration. How do you think future generations, business students, etc., will look back at this time? That's interesting.
I like the idea of it, actually. I think it's a prime opportunity to do things differently, to show what is truly possible of the human spirit and the determination and grit. All those, like the catchphrases and the keywords, they actually are they're relevant right now. They're more relevant than ever. And the different ways that we took a situation and we flipped it and we made it into our advantage. And I think we could be studied. Like, I think what we're doing now has some nowhere in our timeline, our lifetime, I should say, has anything like this ever happened. So this is prime studying time. Let's take a look at what others are doing and what works, and really how we are as humans, and what do we need right now, because there's so much change in the world. What are some things that are constant? What are some things that we need as as humans, and to take care of those things? I think there's a real
no, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, just a real opportunity to write our own story.
Well, in a way, I feel like it's also been very freeing, because we're not doing anything the way we used to do it before. And so we have this permission to almost try anything and to see if it works. And I actually find people really patient about that. It's like, okay, I tried this. Sorry, it didn't work. I'm going to try something different now. And I like that about our character, that we're expanding and, hopefully not always everywhere, but having that opportunity to be kind and to be innovative.
I agree. And I like that word permission, because it's given the world permission to, like, all bets are off, what now? And I know for myself, I have not had this much time off. I work, with all these businesses, I work tons, and it's given me a lot of time to reflect and tell me, okay, you know what? I think I work too much, and I've never admitted that out loud. And I really enjoy having evenings that's off where I can just do my own thing. So yeah, there are some epiphanies, I think, and some smaller,
I think so too,
realizations too.
I think so too. Well, we are, I guess, just at our time, and oh my goodness, Aimee, whenever I talk to you, the time just whittles away. And I love it. So true. And you really are a rock star. You're a rock star in business. You're a rock star in our community. You're a rock star in our hearts. And to me, that's, most important. And, I'm going to take away so much from today. One, that we're never alone, reach out to each other, we're all here for each other, to support each other. And also that, you have given us this idea that we can march on. And I just think that's so critical in this time, to be inspired by that. And it's just been absolutely fabulous to have had the opportunity to chat with you. And I wanted to make sure that we thank our sponsors, which are our presentation sponsor is the Hill Levine School of Business, and our let me get this right, community sponsor is Virtus Group. So thank you to both of those. They make such a big difference to us. And to all of you who have joined us, we miss you, we love you, and we hope your businesses will march on. For me, when I come up to a business challenge, I'm gonna ask myself, what would Aimee do? And I'm pretty sure if I ask myself, what will Aimee do? The answer that comes back is going to be smart and sassy, and I'm going to go for it. So thank you, Aimee, for sharing everything.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thanks, Janet. Oh, you're awesome as usual.
Bye-bye, everyone. See you soon. There'll be no Uncorked for December. It's nothing new. They normally take December off, but January, we're going to start 2021 off with a fabulous presentation. January the 19th, Patricia Crow and Thomas Benjo will join us from FHQ Developments. If you don't know about FHQ Developments, just Google that right now and you're going to be inspired already. So thank you, everyone, and good night. Oh, Aimee, what's for supper?
Oh, honest answer, leftover Domino's pizza. I feel like I can't do a fake answer now because I just told you the honest one. Hey, it's a micro win for me. I'm going to take it.
Absolutely, micro win. Uncorked is only about the honest answer. Well, thank you so very much, everyone, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.